locusts blackening the skies of Ukraine to blood-red dawns over Los Angeles, the signs keep getting harder to ignore. Nature is acting strange, the skies look wrong, and the earth itself seems to be shifting. It's as if they are trying to warn us. The locust storm, Ukraine, July 2025. In late July 2025, skies over southern Ukraine darkened, not from clouds, but from wings. Millions of locusts filled the air, blotting out the sun. It looked like a living storm moving across the land, devouring everything in its path. Within hours, farmlands were stripped bare, trees stood naked, and the sound of wings drowned out the world. Farmers fought back with smoke and noise, but it didn't matter. The insects were too many, an unstoppable wave of hunger. People said it looked biblical, like something pulled straight from the book of Revelation. Some even claimed the swarm pushed into towns, covering streets, cars, and windows in a crawling mass. This pest outbreak felt like a warning, a reminder that when the balance of nature breaks, things like this start happening. And as the dust settled over Ukraine, it wasn't long before strange things started happening elsewhere. The red sky over Los Angeles. Los Angeles, a city used to wildfires and weird weather, had never seen anything like this. One morning, the sun rose blood red. The entire city was bathed in crimson light, painting the skyline like a scene from an apocalypse movie. People stopped in the streets, staring at the eerie glow that washed over buildings, cars, even the ocean. Phones came out instantly, videos went viral, but behind the excitement was fear. Was it just smoke, pollution, or something else entirely? The air felt heavy, unreal, like the city had slipped into another world. Locals said it felt like the sky was warning them, screaming for attention. And soon, social media was flooded with theories, some scientific, others supernatural. Whatever the reason, one thing was clear: the world didn't look normal anymore. And as night fell over that red horizon, halfway across the world, the ground began to shake. The mud volcano. Taiwan, June 2025. At dawn in southern Taiwan, farmers near Huangyuan Temple woke to a deep rumble beneath their feet. Within moments, the earth split open. From the cracks came thick streams of bubbling mud, boiling, hissing, alive. The eruption lasted 11 hours straight, spewing methane gas and sludge across the fields. Villagers rushed to move their homes and animals as the mud crept closer. 4 separate vents opened, each one releasing pressure from somewhere deep underground. Locals said it wasn't the first time. The volcano had erupted 10 times before, but never like this. The sound, the force, the smell, it was like the planet was exhaling. Some even joked that the ground was angry. But after seeing the destruction, nobody was laughing.
The mud volcano in Wanne village, Wandun township in southern Taiwan, erupts once or twice a year on average, each time lasting more than 10 hours. It erupted twice last year in March and July, respectively. The timing of eruptions is unpredictable.
It was as if the land itself was trying to purge something building beneath the surface, waiting for release. And just when people thought things couldn't get weirder, the same fury of the earth appeared again, in a place no one expected. The Colombian eruption, San Jose de Mulatos, November 2024. In the small Colombian town of San Jose de Mulatos, life was quiet until the ground tore open without warning. An inactive geyser that locals thought was long dead suddenly exploded to life. Mud and debris shot into the air, raining down over homes and fields. Within minutes, the land was buried under waves of thick, gray sludge. Families ran for safety as mud swallowed everything in its path. 24 acres were wiped out, gone. The eruption was so strong, it ejected thousands of tons of material every second. For scientists, it made no sense. The geyser hadn't been active for decades. For the people who lived there, it was something else, a message. The kind of thing that made you wonder if the world was finally waking up to everything we've done to it. And while the ground boiled in Colombia, there was a blast heard in Yellowstone. The Yellowstone Blast, United States, May 2025. It started as a soft rumble beneath the boardwalks of Yellowstone National Park. Tourists had seen geysers before, but nothing like this. Without warning, a hydrothermal explosion at Black Diamond Pool sent rocks, water, and steam hundreds of feet into the air. People screamed and ran for cover as the blast thundered through Biscuit Basin. The ground shook, steam filled the air, and for a few seconds, it looked like the earth itself had cracked open. What's eerie is that the same spot had exploded just a year earlier. Scientists said it was normal. The trapped steam sometimes burst through the surface, but many weren't convinced. Two massive eruptions, back to back in the same place? Something about it felt different, more dangerous. And if Yellowstone, one of the most active volcanic systems on the planet, is starting to wake up again, then maybe all these strange events aren't random at all. The pollen tornado, China. It started like a normal day, blue skies, calm air, until people noticed the clouds weren't clouds at all. They were spinning. Above the treetops, massive white swirls began to twist and rise like tornadoes made of dust and light. At first, people panicked. It looked apocalyptic, like alien activity. But as the footage spread, experts revealed the truth. It wasn't smoke or ash or even sand. It was pollen. Billions of microscopic grains swirling together into massive columns, rising up like something alive. Scientists had never seen pollen move like that before. The phenomenon left everyone unsettled. If something as gentle as pollen could form a tornado, what did that say about how unstable the world had become? And before the mystery could fade, another swirl appeared. This time not white, but dark and much, much more alive. The mosquito tornado. In an unknown location, locals filmed what looked like the end of days. A towering black spiral rising into the sky. It wasn't smoke, it wasn't dust. It was made of mosquitoes. Millions of them twisting together into a living vortex. The swarm was so dense it blotted out parts of the horizon, moving like a single breathing creature. People on the ground said it sounded like a low hum, like static in the air. The footage quickly spread online, earning the name the mosquito tornado. Scientists said it might have been a rare swarm formation, but that didn't explain the sheer size. It looked unnatural. And as the strange spiral faded from the sky, another one appeared, this time farther north, and even more terrifying. The Russian mosquito tornado. Across the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia, the skies darkened once again from millions upon millions of mosquitoes, forming spiraling towers in the air. They rose so high and thick they looked like smoke columns from a wildfire. Locals filmed in disbelief as the living clouds twisted and moved, blotting out the sun and coating everything in a dark haze. It wasn't just a momentary swarm either, it lasted 2 whole days. People couldn't leave their homes without being engulfed in the buzzing mass. Scientists tried to calm everyone down, saying it was just part of the mosquito mating season. But for those standing beneath those shifting towers, it didn't feel like nature, it felt like a warning. Because as these living whirlwinds consumed the Russian sky, another strange sight appeared across the ocean. One that made people question whether our world was glitching out of control. The strange pelican, Florida, 2025. In a peaceful moment by the shore in Destin, Florida, someone filmed a pelican standing near the waterline. Nothing unusual until you look closer. The bird's body wasn't right. Parts of it seemed to fade, like its feathers were dissolving into thin air. You could see right through it. At first, people thought it was a camera glitch, but the rest of the frame was fine. Only the pelican was flickering, fading in and out of existence like a ghost caught between worlds. The longer the clip played, the more unsettling it became. Was it a trick of the light? Some weird digital artifact? Or something else entirely, a brief tear in reality? Theories piled up, from simulation errors to quantum distortions. But no one ever found an answer. Because when you start seeing living things fade before your eyes, you have to wonder, are these just coincidences? Or is something weird happening to the world around us? Well, the next sighting definitely answers that. The cube over Prague. It was a quiet afternoon in Prague, blue skies, calm winds, nothing out of the ordinary. And then, people began looking up. Hanging in the air above the city was something that shouldn't have been there. A massive, perfect white cube. It wasn't a balloon, it wasn't a drone. It just sat there, rotating ever so slightly, its sides catching the sunlight like polished mirrors. Crowds gathered in the streets. Some pulled out their phones, others just stared in silence, unable to process what they were seeing. For nearly 5 minutes, the cube stayed motionless, like it was watching back. And then all of a sudden, it was gone. Those who filmed it swore there was no sign of trickery. Scientists brushed it off as a drone illusion, but eyewitnesses said it was too big, too smooth, too unnatural. Maybe it was a glitch. Or maybe, as someone online claimed, it was one of those warnings we keep ignoring, proof that something is shifting in the skies above us. But strange lights and hovering shapes aren't the only signs that reality is twisting. Because what happened next freaked out all of TikTok. The duplicate ring. TikToker Laura Rawlings wasn't looking for anything paranormal. She was just deep cleaning her bathroom one afternoon when something shiny caught her eye. A ring. But not just any ring, her ring. The exact same one she was wearing on her finger. She stared at it, confused. She lived alone. She didn't have a partner and didn't have guests. So how could there be a perfect duplicate of her own jewelry just sitting there, dirty, old, like it had been lost for years? People online tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe she bought two and forgot. But Laura insisted. She never owned a second ring. The discovery didn't feel random. It felt placed, like something or someone had duplicated it and left it behind. Almost like the universe had a copy and paste error. And if that sounds far-fetched, what witnesses in Chicago saw next made even the skeptics fall silent. The moon crash. For decades, we've been told the space junk floating above our heads could come back to haunt us someday. Well, that day might finally be here. After years of drifting through the void, an old rocket part, just a forgotten piece of metal, is about to slam straight into the moon. It'll be the first time in history that a random chunk of human-made debris has accidentally crashed into our lunar neighbor. Scientists are calling it a unique research opportunity. But really, it sounds more like a cosmic accident we weren't ready for. NASA says the impact might leave a crater up to 65 feet wide, and they'll be using orbiters to hunt it down. Those rocket parts aren't sterile when they leave Earth. Some microbes might have survived the journey, even after all this time. And here's the unsettling part. Nobody's even sure whose rocket it is. SpaceX said it's not theirs. China denied responsibility. So where did it come from? No one knows. No one's tracking it. And maybe that's the real problem. Not just what's falling from the sky, but what we've already lost control of above it. Double moon over Chicago. Late one evening, Chicago's night sky turned into something straight out of a sci-fi movie. People on the streets stopped mid-step, staring upward at something that made no sense. Above the buildings, glowing clearly against the dark sky, were two moons, both perfectly round, both shining bright, and both moving in sync as if they were copies of each other. At first, most thought it had to be some kind of optical illusion. Maybe a reflection off the windows of a skyscraper or a strange atmospheric trick, but the footage showed otherwise. The second moon wasn't faint or distorted, it looked solid, as real as the first. What made it even stranger was that both moons seemed to shift slightly, like one was trying to follow the other. People filming the scene could be heard gasping, their voices shaking as they tried to make sense of what they were seeing. Traffic slowed, and dozens of phones pointed toward the sky, trying to capture proof that this was really happening. Experts later tried to explain it away as a rare light phenomenon or a lens reflection. But for those who saw it in person, the explanation didn't add up. It wasn't a trick of light, and it wasn't something that could just be brushed off. But if you thought that was strange, you should hear about the floating leaf. The floating leaf. There are no tricks here, no wires. What you're looking at is just a leaf, hanging in midair. A woman filming couldn't believe it. She reached out, touched it, and the moment she let go, it floated again, motionless. It wasn't falling, it wasn't moving, just suspended. Some said static electricity, others said a spider's thread, but when the camera zoomed in, there was nothing there. It was as if gravity had been temporarily turned off in that one small spot. But the strangest, most unsettling moment came not from the sky or nature, but from people themselves. The creepy sink. During a school stage performance, a group of students moved too perfectly. It looked less choreographed and more like duplication. The audience clapped, but there was a quiet unease in the room. When the video was replayed later, people noticed how their movements weren't just synchronized, they were mirrored, like the same person copied across multiple bodies. It wasn't just performance art anymore, it was something else, something mechanical, unnatural, as if for a brief moment, reality forgot to render individuality. The mythical sky display. Thousands of miles away in India, the sky was raging with thunder and rain. Lightning ripped across the dark clouds, lighting up the night in violent flashes. But during one strike, something extraordinary appeared. For just a second, witnesses saw what looked like a massive, glowing figure sitting calmly in the clouds. They said it was Lord Shiva himself, in a meditative pose, his form shining bright as the heavens roared around him. People screamed, some prayed, and others simply froze, staring up as the shape faded as quickly as it came. Skeptics brushed it off as a trick of lightning and imagination, but the timing couldn't be ignored. These strange appearances started happening just as other unexplainable events were being recorded around the world. Strangest cloud formation ever captured. Over in the skies above a quiet town, a storm rolled in that was anything but ordinary. That night, people looked up and saw something they couldn't explain. A huge storm cloud had rolled in, thick and heavy, but this wasn't your typical thunderstorm. Lightning wasn't coming from the top or sides like it normally would. Instead, it was shooting right out of the ass of the cloud, bursting in quick flashes that lit up the entire sky. It looked strange, almost like the storm was reacting to something. At first, people thought it was just another case of unpredictable weather. But then the videos started spreading online, and everyone began asking the same question: what's going on with the sky lately? Some said it was the HARP project, claiming the government might be messing with the atmosphere again. Others thought it was a sign, maybe something higher trying to get our attention. Either way, it fits the pattern of what's been happening around the world lately. It felt like nature itself was trying to tell us something we hadn't been listening to. The more people talked about it, the harder it became to just shrug it off as bad weather. Whether it was science, something man-made, or something beyond our understanding, it added one more piece to the growing list of things that made everyone wonder if the warnings had already started and if we were too late to notice. But if you're still not convinced that something strange is happening, this next one will do the trick. The river that turned red. February 2025, Lima, Peru. One of the city's main rivers, the Rimac, suddenly turned blood red. Locals gathered on bridges, watching in horror as the crimson water flowed through the heart of the city. Scientists blamed it on pollution from nearby mines, but others weren't buying it. They said it was a sign, an omen. It wasn't just the color that scared people, it was how quickly it happened, spreading for miles within hours. The officials said it was safe to drink, but who would dare? After all, this was just one of many strange signs appearing worldwide. From skies with two moons to rivers running red, it feels like someone or something has been trying to warn us. And perhaps now, we're finally starting to listen.